Hello to you once again, welcome back to the channel. On this sign here it says Marribank, and today we're at a abandoned Aboriginal mission which is not too far from Carrolup in Western Australia. And this mission was opened I think from about 1932 to 45, and in that time it sort of opened and closed a couple of times, and it was a government run mission for Aboriginal children. There was about 140 something boys and a few less girls, and they just did all sorts of things here, but it just sits here alone today, and some of the buildings are still in kind of fairly good condition, but we thought we'd just stop and have a little bit of a look around and just see what was here. But you know, it was back in those days when, with all good intentions, you know, Aboriginal children were taken from their families, and anyway, the rest is history. We know what happened there. And I'm not sure, but you know, Aboriginal people have, you know, places like this they'd probably call a sorry place, and they don't come here anymore. And not even all around Australia they have sorry places. And but let's go, and we'll just go and check out a few old buildings and see if we can kind of imagine some of the story. I suppose over the years, you know, I'm no scholar in Aboriginal things, but I've taken a little bit of time just to kind of understand the Aboriginal view. And I was somewhere one day, and I found interesting is that it was like an elderly Aboriginal man, and he was just talking about, you know, they have their own story, which is how they live, and they look at us white Australians and say that's white man's story, and they openly say that they don't want to live white man's story, they want to live their own story. And I just thought it was a little bit of insight into just how they think, I suppose. And you know, I really encourage anyone to just do a little bit about Aboriginal history and try and understand their perspective. You know, it's very easy to look at Indigenous people and think, oh, you know, they don't want to work, they don't do anything, but I think you've got to understand how they're associated to their own story, to their own regions in Australia, and their own culture. So it is what it is. You know, we're not the only country. When the Europeans went to America, the same thing happened with the Red Indians over there, and I'm sure the story goes on in different countries in the world. Let's go, we'll go and have a look around and just sort of have a bit of a glance and see what's left. So it's like a bit of a loop, kind of a street, and they have different houses, cars parked there, but you can see some of these old buildings are quite nice. And I'm not sure, we'll have a look and see if they say on any of the buildings what they were used for. But maybe we'll go and have a look in here. You know, these look like little dormitories where, you know, maybe there was one or two beds in there and where they used to sleep. Well, there you go, well, this looks like an old general store actually. Be a little shop or something. All supplies. You know, you've got to remember this was a mission, so it wasn't like, you know, to have shops where you buy too many different things. But more storeroom. You know, maybe it's a place where they had uniforms and clothes and things. But obviously, you know, there's a bit of a counter here, so you'd come in and I'd stand here and you'd tell me what you want. And yeah, it's just interesting. I'll try and get the story and imagine what was here. I'll just have a look around here. It looks like I don't know, little shelves. So it must have been something of value, because if you look out here, they've got pretty strong bars here. So obviously, if there was food or things that people wanted, then they kind of had them locked up. So that was a pretty strong door, metal door. And then there's this one here, which is a bit like one of the stable doors. So maybe they opened it and you came here and got things. I'm not quite sure, but we'll go on and have a little bit of a look at a couple of other buildings. I'm sure that You know, these look like, obviously, you know, there probably would have been school teachers here, maybe politicians, political people. It's a government-run place, so they all would have had their own house to live in. Maybe we're going to have a look in there. That kind of looks interesting. When doors are closed, things you think, it sort of pulls you in, it makes you wonder what is there. But we're going to have a bit of a squiz. Certainly seen better days. Let's have a bit of a look. Oh. You always got to look where you're putting your feet in places like this, because there could be a few snakes. Okay. So, you know, I can just imagine, you know, back in those days, maybe one of the teachers or something lived here, and this would be a lounge room, possibly. Look at these old books. Wilderness Friends. Old storybooks, jazz country. Gosh. Old wardrobe and things. Yeah. Just sad. All these old things. Oh, this is the kitchen. Oh, let's have a look in here. Gosh. Now somebody's gone to a lot of trouble to get those pine nuts in here. Must be hundreds of them. And yeah, that's really interesting. I bet you they've been here for a long time. Gee whiz. Bet there won't be any water in the tap. No, of course not. Tractor tyre. So those are possibly bedrooms. But she's looking a bit sorry now. It's amazing when, I know it's been here for a long time, but it's when you don't live in a house, slowly they just deteriorate all by themselves. So the old stove's gone, but there's looks like an old gas stove there. Yeah, you know, I don't know if you can imagine things, but when you come to these places, you kind of imagine, you hear the old voices of kids running around and what it must have all meant to everybody. Let's have a look in here. I'm sure back in those days, all the children, not apart from learning things, they would have had jobs to do and chores to take care of every day. This over here looks like it could be a bit of a chook pen, I think. It's got that kind of look about it anyway. Oh yeah, chook pen, pig pen, something. Let's have a better look in this shed and see what this is. Alright, don't know what this would have been, but keep bench clean by order. So it might have been a bit of a workshop. It's got the kind of benches there that you have for a workshop. Look at these old shelves. You know, as I say, this was opened in the 30s and went to kind of the 50s. But you know, all this old kind of shelving is decades old. Yeah, that's really quite interesting, really. So many old stories. I love exploring this. Oren and I travel all over the place, and we love coming to these old places and just having a bit of a sniff around. I'd say there's a good chance under that ground there'll be a well. Looks like a concrete slab that's sort of seen better days, but I think over here it could be stables. Let's go and have a look. So yeah, little shed for something. Not sure what this would be. It's got a bit of a resemblance of a, maybe a shearing shed, maybe, I'm not sure. Usually little doors like that there are, when the shearer's shorn the sheep, he just pushes them out that back door. Bit of a gate there, they come in there and probably go out somewhere else. Old stories. Yeah, well, kind of looks like an old shearing shed. This old stretcher. Let me tell you what, when I was a kid we used to have these. You go camping. I suppose things haven't changed much, but I bet you that one's pretty old. Well, this one here's definitely got something to do with sheep. There's a ramp there. Obviously pens. Something in the distance there. Not sure what that is. Let's go in here and have a look. Okay, so a couple of water pumps. Possibly a place where you did some washing, shelving. Fly wire like this is just to indicate that they used to keep food in cupboards like that. They were kind of called a food safe. Yeah. Could have been horses here. They're obviously feeding troughs. The horse would have stuck his head in there. We'll go and have a look around and see if I can find Irene. Well, there's a little shed. Let's have a quick look. Oh, old suitcase. Stove in the corner. Look at that old polisher. Looks like someone's been pushing it back and forth. This is all insulated with tin, so I don't know what it'd be. Well, this is definitely a grain, bit of a grain silo. So this would be full of grain. And then they'd pull this lever. Maybe they'd have a wheelbarrow or something there, but they'd pull that lever and all the grain would come out and they'd fill whatever they were loading it into. It still works too. So I'm sure that back in the old days we would have had sheep, goats, cows, pigs, chooks. So this no doubt looks like a big animal pen. This would be the kind of thing that I reckon they'd have chooks. It's got a high fence to keep the foxes out. And particularly this building here has caught my interest because it's got fly wire all the way along here. And these chooks would have had to be well protected. This area through here is, has a lot of foxes. Oh, definitely a chook thing. Place for the chickens to sit on. You know, you think about every day little Aboriginal children should come down here, probably with their baskets, collect the eggs. They probably have a central place they'd take them. So this is just probably more pens. You know, it's interesting. I suppose when you look at history and come to some of these places, you just think about what kind of lives these people have. You know, living in this world is full of dangers and tests and trials, you know. And none of us are immune to it. But when you think of all these little Aboriginal children years ago, what happened to their parents? I can understand the damage that young children suffered, taken away from their from their parents and their family. Like, I'm not trying to be political here, but it's just the reality of this place. This is a perfect example of, let's come around this way, get something behind me. This is a perfect example of just that. People with good intentions taking children to try and institutionalise them, to make them like our European kind of way. But it must be sad. You know, these people that grow old and never knew what happened to their parents, never knew what happened to their brothers and sisters. I think they're good things to remember, so you appreciate what's happened to other people. Let's go and have a look at this house over here. You know, it's set probably 20 kilometres off the Albany Highway, but it's really beautiful. There's no one else out here. I rang up the range and I said, "Oh, can we camp out here?" And he said, "Yeah, no problem." He said, "You should be fine out there." But it truly is, you know. Well, this is probably somebody's farm today, and there's sheep there. But you know, when it's quiet, it's such a beautiful place. Look at that olden day stereo player. Put 2 cassette tapes in there, or maybe a CD. I wonder how long that's been sitting there. Just come in here and walk carefully. Another little CD player. You know, I think one day someone who owned these, someone used to sit down at night time and maybe listen to a bit of music. Kitchen. You know, there would have been a time you look out that window and out into the mission and kids running around and the sound of children. They all probably had little houses they lived in, and maybe there was an adult that lived in the house with them to make sure everything was okay. All the trees grown in there. So this would have been maybe a bit of a lounge room. There's an old fireplace. Used to have shelves like that when I was a kid. Little bedroom. Yeah, it's really good. Quite interesting. Look at that there. Not sure what that'd be. I picked it up because I thought it might have been like a stamp that they used to stamp paper with or something, but it's got a little bit of wire. It's like something for hanging, but some children's toy. Think about it, it's probably been here for 50 years. It's really quite incredible. Just a little bit of a look. It's really quite a nice place. This here used to be the football oval, I'd say, because there's the goalposts. A few more houses down here. We won't look at them all, just want to look at a few things. But this one over here, I want to look at. I want to go over there and check that one out. That looks like a big one. You know, I presume that, you know, the people who kind of ran the place, like over that way there's a couple of nice houses. Like, you know, people that ran the place probably had the best houses, so to speak. You kind of get an idea of who kind of slept where. But let's go and check this place out. I suppose for these places, they're probably just left to, I suppose, just disintegrate. I suppose there's no real purpose for them, is there? They leave behind a story which people like us come and try and understand a little bit of the story to see what took place here. But we'll go in this house and check it out. This looks like quite a big house. Big step. There are a couple of videos on YouTube of old Aboriginal elders talking about when they were here as a child. Old bathroom in there. Let's go in this bit. Maybe dining area. Oh yeah, kitchen. Those old cupboards. This is what I grew up. These old handles. Lino in the cupboard. It's quite incredible, really. Some of the dates on these papers. Oh yeah, 2008. In the history of things, that's not that long ago. Bedrooms. Oh, this one's got carpet. It's really quiet out here. Maybe a lounge room. Bird's nest there. Let me get up a bit closer. Swallows. It's a nice looking nest. And they obviously sit there a lot. Old fridge. Drink of water. We'll go and have a look at that. Now I saw this on one of those videos. This is the interesting part. Now this house here was, let's just call him the superintendent. He was the boss. And part of the story goes is that obviously he used to keep an eye on everything. And you know, people weren't allowed just to come into this mission. Let me just turn this around. People weren't allowed just to walk in and out of this mission. This is a government-run institution. It had people in authority here with the children. So, you know, you couldn't just walk in and out as you pleased. But the interesting thing is, I'll take you to this old bridge and we'll have a look, and I'll turn the camera around and you have a look. So this old bridge here, in the early days, so this is called Cherry Pool. People do come camping out here, but it's called Cherry Pool. And looks like there's a lot of fish in there. There's a lot of things on the water. But the story here is that in the old days, this bridge is rebuilt sometime in its life, kind of thing. But I'll turn around. This here is where the bridge was wider. Oh, it stinks in here. And this part was rebuilt. And the history says that the governor who lived in that house, this is the only way into Marribank. So from where he sat in his house, he could see everyone who was coming and going across that bridge into Marribank. And so, you know, he would sit and he would look at that bridge from his office or whatever he had, and he could control who's coming in and who's going out. And he used to see everything. And there was no other way up. It was probably surrounded back in bush in those days, where a lot of it's cleared for farmland. But from up there, he could see who was coming in and who was going out. And I just thought that was a bit of interesting bit of history. You know, Aaron and I are camera people, but we kind of look at things like, you know, would it take a good photo? And while this would be beautiful in winter when it's green, but even so now, all the, you know, Australia's a colourful country like any, I suppose, but I love the browns and green trees, and you know, I love the outback kind of feeling. I love getting away from the crowds and all the noise. We're planning to stay out here tonight, so we'll drive around and find somewhere kind of a bit out of the way. I don't think there'll be many people coming out here at night time, but just going to have a quick look at these and then we'll call it a day. You know, these homes here are pretty good quality. This one looks like it's been restored. It's got a new roof on it. So maybe they want to keep some of it for historical significance. But this one's definitely had some renovations done. We'll go in and have a look. So I don't know what this would have been. It's got all tiles on the floors. Big shelves. Looks like the kind of shelves that a government office would have. All the shelving part's gone, but they keep all their important books and information on. Just have a look in here. Definitely maybe it was a library. That's possibly what it was. Could have been a library. Yeah. It's got air conditioning up there, but I don't think in the 30s to 50s. That's a pretty recent air conditioning, so. Wow. Now when I was a kid, this was called a copper. And in here would be a big copper, like a bucket, quite deep. And you'd fill it with water and you light a fire underneath. And when it's boiling, you put your soap powder in and do your washing. So I think this building's had a couple of uses. But yeah, it's pretty flash. Oh, we'll just have one more look. Oh, lilac tree. Used to climb plenty of them when I was a kid. No need for explanation of what's going on over there. Yeah, so this one's had a bit of a renovation, but since then been damaged. Bit of carpet, curtains. It's a shame people come in and smash things. The outside's had a bit of a renovation, but the inside looks like it's pretty original. Obviously someone's house, wash trough. It's cool. Notice the floor. The floor here sort of slopes right down that way. Oh yeah, there's a drain there, so this was certainly a washing area. Old bathtub. Another bedroom. Gosh, old filing cabinets. Yeah, I'm only kind of guessing what these rooms were, but I'm sure that we're probably pretty close to what they all were used for. Bedrooms. Used to have a bed like that as a kid. Get in bed at night and it squeaked all night. Well, Irene's out here somewhere. So she could be anywhere. We'll have to try and find her, I suppose. Oh, there she is, down there. We'll go for a bit of a walk. Well, this building here possibly would have been a church or a school building. I'm sure we can have a look in here. It's possibly a school building. Oh, I know. Recreation hall. Kitchen. You know, I can remember halls like this when I was a kid. Come to the hall, have a dance and games, fun and games night. You come up to the counter when supper was served. Can I have this? Can I have that? Kitchen. What's in there? Just a storeroom. Bit more of a kitchen. Oh, I see. Yeah, no. I'll get it now. This was the dining hall. Makes sense now. Well, maybe they used the hall too for fun and games, but definitely a dining hall. Everyone would come here for dinner. So an interesting thing Irene said and reminded me is that Marribank Mission was an agricultural school. So this is a place where the Aboriginal children learnt skills like looking after animals, the different kind of animals, feeding chooks, cows, and I presume, this is only me presuming, that as they got to an age where they could work a bit more, they probably, you know, we're in the middle of farmland, so they probably let them walk on farms and they could then look after the animals and know how to do farm work. So I just thought it was an interesting point. Agricultural school. So this sign here, before I read it, you can see the garden's long gone. There's obviously nobody here to maintain it, but it used to be a garden, and it says Carrolup-Marribank, 1915 to 1980. So well, there you go, a bit later than the 50s than I thought. Garden of Remembrance. This garden has been established in remembrance of all the Aboriginal children who are residents of the Carrolup native settlement and Marribank Mission, and the staff who work with them. So it's also called Carrolup, so that's interesting. But yeah, anyway, that's a bit of a short history of it all. So this is the end of Marribank Carrolup Mission. And earlier on we were right up there. But we've come down here to camp. I rang the ranger and said, can we camp down here? And he said, yeah, no worries, just come in. So we've come right down the other end out of the way. But this is where we're going to stay tonight. As you can hear the wind in the trees, it's beautiful. It'll be beautiful in the morning. There's evidence of rabbits here, and there's probably kangaroos. And there's lots of birds. So when the sun comes up in the morning and the golden light is coming out, it'll be absolutely beautiful. So this was the dormitory. But I don't know why people get pleasure out of smashing things. Just a bit of a shame, really. But we don't need to go in there. We know what's there. So we're just having a bit of a walk around. But I said to Irene, where is she? There she is.
Here. Hi.
Out of all the things that I've seen here, I'm surprised there's not fruit trees. You know, we've been to a lot of places, and sometimes you come to a place like this, and because people used to live here, there's lots of fruit trees, but haven't seen any yet. But we're just going to have a look at a couple more buildings. Let's have a bit of a look in here. Oh well, we know what that used to be. Bit of hoo-ha to do here.
Yeah, so this was like a posher house, isn't it? I was trying to work out what would be in there.
Fireplace. There's a chimney above it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, do you reckon it could have been a stove, or do you reckon it could be a kitchen in here?
No.
No.
Are there any tap fittings?
No.
Oh, you could be right. I reckon you're right. Because these are bedrooms.
Yeah. Like in
Oh.
the other house out there, they've actually got stairs, isn't it?
It's only how it still smells of cigarettes in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can't you smell it? Let's go up and have a bit of a look at the church. It's such a beautiful time of day, isn't it? It's going to be cool here tonight, though. It's like one of those little houses you'd find in Ishamandal or somewhere.
Yeah.
I was looking at this building and it looks like it's burnt, but it can't be burnt because if a fire had scorched that, it would have just completely burnt down. But very interesting. So what did you think this is? Oh, schoolroom. Oh yeah, different classroom for sure. Evan, you know, it's interesting that it actually still smells like a classroom. Yeah, it does. You know that timber wood smell?
So it must have been where they put the stored stuff in there.
Yeah, a bit of a storeroom. Wow, that's pretty interesting. Check this out. Look at these old chairs. I'll tell you something about these chairs. These came from an old picture theatre. They're picture theatre chairs. When we were kids, when we used to go to pictures, that's what you did. When you stood up and left your seat, you'd pick up the thing so everyone could walk out. Old picture theatre. But this was where they had church, you reckon, Toots?
Well, that's what I reckon. They've got some blackboards up here.
Yeah, definitely.
But then they could have had their assemblies here too. You know what I mean? They could have been a church, but an assembly as well, because that's the classroom.
Yep. I'll go and check out the next building.
From the front.
Yeah, Orange said she thinks it's a church. It does look like an old church. And the funny, you can travel all over Australia and old churches. They were made out of the biggest stones and they just last forever. It's a nice old building though.
Yeah.
Let's have a bit of a look. Oh yeah, definitely. So this here used to be the playground for the kids. Check that out. I'm 70. If you're anywhere near my age, you'll remember these monkey bars. Used to swing back and forth. I wouldn't even get past 3 rungs now. Old swings, how's that for a 1950s and 60s swings? Chain ladder, an old chair. Pretty amazing really, isn't it? No problem. Well, that comes to the end of our walk around of Marribank and Carrolup Aboriginal Mission. I hope you enjoyed it, you know. There's a lot of story here and I'm just glad that you came with us, and we'll catch you next time.